Welcome to the Bible's Most Quoted Verses podcast, where we take the verses everyone knows and uncover the meaning most people miss.
Okay, let's dive into what might be the most famous piece of writing on the planet, Psalm 23. Its words are like a universal comfort blanket, right? But what if there's a hidden power to them, something we've been missing all this time? Well, that's what we're going to unpack.
You hear these words, and you know them. For thousands of years, they've been a source of incredible comfort, whispered in quiet moments and shouted in times of fear. It's a line that just feels like home.
And I'm not kidding about thousands of years. We're talking over 3,000 years that these verses, all 118 words of them, have been recited at bedsides, at funerals. They've been memorized by kids and held on to for dear life by adults.
But here's a thought. What if all that comfort has actually made us a little too comfortable? What if this psalm was never meant to be just admired, like a pretty poem on a wall? What if it was written to be claimed, boldly, personally? And that's the question we're really digging into today.
So to help us unlock this thing, we're going to turn to a guide from the 19th century. This is a man who totally reframed how people saw this psalm, not by adding anything new, but by pointing out one tiny, powerful detail that was hiding in plain sight.
And that guide is Charles Haddon Spurgeon. Now, you got to understand, in an era with no microphones, no social media, this guy was a rock star. He preached to huge crowds in London, thousands at a time. They called him the Prince of Preachers, and his life's work was this massive commentary on the Psalms called The Treasury of David. And here is Spurgeon's big idea. He basically warned everyone, hey, we're treating Psalm 23 like a sweet little lullaby. Green pastures, still waters, a nice thought. But he argued that when we do that, we completely miss the point. He said it's not just poetry, it's a powerful personal declaration of a relationship. It's like a formal agreement, a covenant. And that changes everything. So Spurgeon's first big insight is so simple it's almost revolutionary. He called it the pearl of the psalm. And it's a word we see all the time and probably just read right past it without a second thought. And there it is, that one two-letter word, M-Y. Not a shepherd, not the shepherd in some vague general way. M-Y shepherd. This, Spurgeon said, is the absolute game changer. Spurgeon himself put it as plainly as possible. He said the entire strength of the psalm, all of its comfort, all of its promises, it all hangs on that one little pronoun. It is literally the key that unlocks the whole thing. And you can see the difference right here. Saying the Lord is a shepherd it's just an abstract idea. It's poetic, sure, but it's distant. It's a nice thought, but it doesn't have much power. But declaring the Lord is my shepherd, whoa, now that is a personal claim. That speaks of a real relationship, a covenant. It takes a beautiful idea and turns it into comfort you can actually hold on to. Okay, but Spurgeon wasn't done, not by a long shot. He noticed another piece of context that is so crucial, but almost everybody misses it. And it's what gives the comfort of Psalm 23 its real weight.
I know, it sounds super obvious, right? But just think about that for a second. The Psalms aren't just thrown together randomly. Their order is intentional. Psalm 23 doesn't just exist on its own little island. Its meaning is directly tied to the chapter that comes right before it.
And the contrast is just staggering. Psalm 22 is a psalm of absolute gut-wrenching suffering. It's about feeling abandoned, being mocked, and it contains that famous, chilling line about pierced hands and feet. Then, right after all that anguish, you turn the page and get Psalm 23, peace, comfort, green pastures. The question is, why? What's going on there?
And this is Spurgeon's absolutely profound insight. He said the two are inseparable. You can't have one without the other. The peace and provision you find in Psalm 23 are directly, and I mean directly, connected to the pain and the sacrifice you read about in Psalm 22. And this really says it all. The comfort for the sheep was bought and paid for by the suffering of the shepherd. That safety, that guidance, that feeling of restoration we love in Psalm 23, it came at a massive cost. The green pastures only exist because of the cross that casts its shadow over them. So why does all this matter? What's the big takeaway? Well, when you understand Spurgeon's reading of this, it completely changes the psalm from a passive poem into an active, powerful declaration of faith. And it forces you to make a choice.
So, let's just recap Spurgeon's big contributions here. First, he reframed the whole thing. It's not just poetry, it's a personal declaration. Second, he zeroed in on the explosive power of that tiny word, my. And third, he revealed that you can't have the shepherd's comfort without understanding his suffering.
And this really gets to the heart of it all. What Spurgeon teaches us is that these ancient words don't really change us when we just sit back and admire them. They transform us when we step up and claim them, when we put ourselves in the story and say, yes, this is for me.
So the next time you hear those famous words, "The Lord is my shepherd," just pause, because now you know the power packed into that little pronoun, and you know the price that was paid for that piece. The only question left is the one right here. Is this something you just admire from a distance, or is it something you're ready to claim?
Thanks for joining today's deep dive. If this helped you understand Scripture more clearly, subscribe and share this episode with someone who loves the Bible. See you next time as we unpack another one of the Bible's most quoted verses.